We went over Mirage, and now, by popular request, you guys have asked for it pretty much unanimously, so here it is. Say hi to the FL Studio project for Save Me, the second track in my latest AV with Miss Lina, which has been out in the wild for a couple weeks now. Save Me, or at least this iteration of Save Me, more on that later, it's more recent than Mirage. It was started in November of 2022 and finished sometime in Q2 of 2023, if my memory serves me, as part of a new batch of songs I wrapped up around that same time, so I could dedicate the rest of that year solely to New Year Protocol 9, given the challenges that presented. This song is an attempt at reflecting those moments in life where nothing seems to go your way, and you're faced with a reality that may not be what you wanted, so you kind of have to learn to deal with the pain and stay strong through all adversity, and if it comes to it, calling for help. As a result, this is a very calm, slow-paced, very felt piece. It's basically the antithesis to Mirage, but in a way it also holds certain parallels to the latest chapters in the New Year Protocol series, dealing with the pain, staying strong in the face of adversity. Those are all themes that are touched upon in the series, so yeah, like I always say, it's all connected. Now, when it comes to the actual production of this, remember how I just said that this iteration of Save Me was started in 2022? Well, that's because I've had a song called Save Me for a lot longer. More specifically, September of 2014. That's a month before I released my first ever track, Heaven, almost 10 years ago. As far as I remember, this one never made it out. But I have it right here. And I'll probably never forgive myself for this. But alas, here's a little preview of the 2014 version of Save Me. Oh shit, that's loud. Okay. This is 10 years ago, modus. Look at those filtered drums. As you can see, it's pretty repetitive. There's not a whole lot going on. Sweeping low pass filter is so 2010. Hard agree. It's very soundgoodized too, and for some reason I only exported this in MP3, so the wave is lost to time. Back then I just exported all my things in MP3. I didn't even. Another fake out. There's lots of fake outs. And it's very likely that a lot of this is samples, especially the drop. The drop is, let's say, cursed. I'm gonna choose that word. Banger. That's about as much as I'm willing to play. Maybe I'll share the whole thing on Modus Lost Files on my secondary account at some point. But yeah, I would never listen to this again myself. But as you can see, it's totally different. This is a very similar story to Visionary, my collab with Skybreak and also Miss Lina on Heaven Sent, where we basically took a very old track of mine that I never released and basically rebuilt it almost from scratch. So we changed the genre and we added lots of new things while bringing over many things from the original. The difference here is that nothing was brought over apart from the name and the key of F sharp minor. This is basically a completely new track, only that this time I actually had the knowledge and resources to, well, make it sound good, including the vocals, which, unlike Mirage, this was conceived with vocals in mind from minute one. So you'll notice as we go deeper into the instrumental, which is what you're seeing here, it actually sounds pretty lonely. and at some points straight up dull. But that's by design, because a lot more foresight was needed into how full the mix can be, because the vocals play a much bigger role here than in Mirage. So yeah, in a way, you could argue this track was 10 years in the making. Like I said, not really, but hey, it makes for a good YouTube title, so. That's it for story time. We shall now jump straight into the abyss and cover this absolute unit of a project. Let's get right into it! Have this long fade in. This actually used to be a lot longer. The original, the V1 export of this track had this intro being like more than 15 seconds long, 16, 17 seconds long. And the song started at like the 20-second mark. I thought, okay, the attention span of people nowadays, people aren't gonna wait around. Like, if I had just kept it like that, people are just gonna do this. They're gonna start the song, see that it takes so long to start, and then just jump here. And if people are gonna do that anyway, might as well just make the intro shorter. So I tightened up these sounds a little more, so they were a little bit more close together. They used to be a lot more spaced out. And that's what this is. This is basically a pulse stretch pad, I believe. Maybe not even that. This is a reversed version of one of my film score experiments that sounds a little something like this. So this is originally in D. You'll notice it sounds an awful lot like a Countdown soundtrack intro, like the intro to a Countdown event. This is one of the precursors of that. And you're seeing that outro there with the piano notes. So I essentially just reversed it and pitched it up, and then I just got this. I obviously based it in reverb. Cavern reverb, so yeah. And then this is just a different instance of the same sample. And there it is. Now we have some more sounds like this intro growl weird stuff, which I'm pretty sure is just a result of mangling some other growl and like pitch bending it and then reverbing it out. It just became that. And then we have some Astra samples from Agent. And then we have a pad from me. I believe this is from Glitch with Friends. There it is. That's harsh. Sorry about that. I apologize for any permanent ear damage that I have caused. So that's just like a static note. I pitched it down and then I distorted it a tiny bit with Destructor, so I got that texture. And there it is, all that combined. And then it just stops. And we begin the actual song. So we might as well start with the main growl, because this growl is all over this track. If you can see here, there's samples of this growl all over the whole track. And same goes for this Reese layer, which is just a layer to that. So first we have a layer, which is just our famous preset, our Keanu Reeves preset. It's just that. Yeah, I just went for a very low note. That a sharp, and then I just filtered it like this. There it is. And then I did this. This is a mix of two layers. This is a, so the first layer is this cluster that I had here. As you can see. This is a mix of an A5 growl. That needs some morph, I believe. that. And this layer is my own growl. In fact, it's right here. So this is just a Vital preset that has 3 layers. They're all from the default wavetables in Vital. They're like so versatile. You can already make so much stuff with just these few factory wavetables, and then the ones from Glunk. So let's start with the first one. This is low-high fold. This already gives you like the core of that like really gritty like dispersed sound, because we have that face dispersion in here. Otherwise it wouldn't even sound half like. See that? And then we have this bend. Makes it sound a little bit more FM-like in a way. And then I'm just automating the position of the wavetable with this LFO. And then just automating the level with this other automation. As you're seeing, it goes up then down, then back up. And then this is also affecting some filters. So as the volume goes up, the filter is going to affect the high cut in this case. Yeah, say hi to YouTube. So there it is. It's just a standard analog filter. And now let's look at oscillator 2. Now this one gives you a slightly more detuned sound, because as you can see, I've bumped up the unison a bit, and the separation is very, very little. It's just 3%. And we have a lot of the same parameters here, like the same phase dispersion and the same band, just in the opposite way. Yeah, I just chose the position of the wavetable that just felt best to me, and then I just automated it that way. And the third oscillator, it's just a bit of support. This one has no unison either, and this has a Foreman scale. Makes it sound slightly like lower pitched in a way. And then we have the squeeze, which makes it a lot more gritty and metallic, you can see. And all 3 combined, you get that. And then just an OTT-like, very aggressive compressor. Otherwise, it just sounds like that, which still sounds great. But this now sounds a lot more gritty and just... right? And then I just have a few variations of this. As you can see, it's basically the same thing, only that I bumped up the stereo on the other foes, so I could get a slightly different instance of the automation on the left and the right channel. So there, as you can see, the left and the right are spaced out just a bit. So the left channel is ever so slightly ahead of the right channel, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. And that's what causes this like very interesting stereo effect. But it's basically the same layers, and now the filter has also been stereoed in a way. And there it is. It's actually interesting because it says here, Ralph Growl. You might be wondering where this comes from. So at the start of 2023, we actually started codenaming our IDs. And I worked on this one on, like right here on the show, on stream last year a few times. And I knew what the title was going to be. I knew it was going to be called Save Me, but I didn't want to reveal it yet. So what we usually do when that happens is we just give it a codename. And I ask you guys to codename this track. And well, this one was just, we called it Codename Ralph. So we have Codename Ralph, Codename Simon, Codename David, Codename Jimmy John, and that's just a neat way to remember which track. So say, next week I'm going to work on Codename Jimmy John, and then everybody knows what that track is going to be, and I get to not reveal the title, which is pretty cool, right? So we all win that way. And then we have this other variation, which is just the exact same. It's just it has a different movement of the filter. So it starts up and then it goes down. whoom, whoom, whereas the other one just goes straight up. Whoom, whoom, right? And then I just did that, and I layered it with an 85 growl, and I just got that. There it is. I just got this, and I bounced it. I did many variations, and then I just had to pitch them up or down depending on what I wanted. So as you can see, that's just... They're both the exact same sound, just in different keys. So this one is a sharp, and then this one is in D. You will notice that I have a Stretch Pro here. And as you can see, this is automating the start of the sound. So see here how it's going down and then back up, and then the formant shift is going to change a little bit of the nature of the sound. Without it, as you can see, it sounds a lot more linear. This just makes the first few milliseconds of the sound a lot more chaotic, right? So it doesn't become tonal until the very end of the sample. It's a pretty sick difference. And then you layer that with the Reese, and that's that. You get that whole sound. And then the piano melody. So for the main motif of the song, I wanted something that could be just the easiest thing imaginable. And in the end, I settled for just 3 notes. And those 3 notes are as follows. That's it. So the A, the G sharp, and the F sharp. As you're seeing here. And with those 3 notes, I had to create all of the melody. So I just went, okay, so a downward scale. And then back down. And then let's alternate. And then the rest was all about creating harmonics, right? So... And there it is. And then now, instead of a third, let's make it a sixth. And that's basically the whole gist of the melody. It's very, very simple. So there is an additive keys, and then there's a labs to add some more harmonies to like layer. So we basically have like 2 piano sounds complementing each other in a way, right? There it is. And then that's basically the gist of the intro. It's just the same sound pitched up or down depending on the needs. And then maybe the odd third layer, like that. So we have this this other instance. Wow, right? And then I believe this also has some formant shifting and pitch. Yeah, so there is. So without this automation, as you can see, this is the other variation that we had. It's that, right? It's just that now we're pitch shifting it 1 octave down, and then we formant shift it as well. So it not only goes down, but the formants also go down with the pitch. So you get this like tape stop, almost like sort of sound, like wow. So like the whole sound like dies out in a way. Wow. All right. So as you can see, this is all just a use of sampling. So it's just the same growl over and over again, each time with different amounts of pitch and formant shifting. So these 2 automations are what's really going to add the variety to that growl. Heckin! Prime sub! Thank you so much! I'm about to tune Yeah, tune in to this stream, bro.
I'm about to tune nota musical gotas de sudor.
Nota musical, gotas de sudor. Welcome. And there it is. That's the whole intro. It's just that. It's like 3 sounds. And then just a kick and the occasional crash cymbal, and that's it. And then as the intro goes on, I added this other layer, which is just like Foley. Right? And this is, I believe, from Ultranova, and it's called Water Foley. That's what it sounds like. I brought it down 17 semitones, so more than an octave. And it sounds like that. And then I added a dimension expander, a Pro R, and an EQ. To basically de-bloat the mids and high pass it a little bit. Because when you pitch it down so much, you like have a lot of low end now. See all that like rubbish there that you might not want. So might as well just get rid of that. And then just for some more flair, add some more like higher razor textures to it. See that? Okay, we have no vocals, so this is gonna sound very empty. So Lina is supposed to sing here, it's just that her vocals are on the vocal project. Hello, Cosmic Fluid. But now we have some more elements at play here. For one, we have this bass disperse sauce layer that I love to use almost everywhere, because this has this really cool tail at the end. Wow! This like tapering off sub bass. Wow! This sub bass tail, I just love using it everywhere. And it helps make it so much deeper and just nastier. I don't really know how to describe it. It's just, yeah, sub boost. So I just layered the growl that I already had, all right? And I had this Reese. I muted the bounced growl, and then I just layered the disperse sauce. And so there's always this. There it is. And I reverbed this out with a Pro R. Yes, I reverbed a sub bass. Sounds cool. Therefore, it's okay on my watch. And then we have just the Reese to make it sound really intimate, like just really empty. Whoa. And just that. So less is more in a way. We have so few elements that it helps to that it adds up to that feeling of like loneliness, right? Which the vocals are going to reflect. I stand lonely among this land is what the vocals are saying at this point. Now we finally do start to add some of these bounced growls back in, right? And then we have the string bass. So now we finally get to see some of the orchestral layers finally coming in. So we had the basses first, right? And then some brass. Yeah, there it is. And now we have a violin here. In fact, we have both a Labs piano on a lower octave, and then we have a violin here. In fact, this is a viola. So this is Cinematic Studio Strings on the staccato preset in Contact. Yeah, there it is. I just added a strings reverb with east-west paces. This is really cool. I use this a lot in the latest in the cinematic New Year protocols for that like realism in the orchestra. There it is. Now we're finally starting to see some of the recess now, like going a little bit further up, right? Some more movements here. So we start, and now we see, right? That wasn't here, right? Like, we didn't have it like that extreme. Well, we did, but it was only at like the very end of the phrase. But we didn't have that G sharp, for example. So we have, and now we have that, right? All right, there it is. So now, as you can see, we're starting to add a few more pieces to the puzzle as the song goes on, right? So it starts out like with the bare bones, the bare essentials, and then we build up on that as we inch closer to the drop, which here we call the chorus, because, well, technically in this song there's only one drop, but that's at the very end. But yeah. So yeah, this is one of my classic. The entire song is a build-up technique. So yeah, it's like the entire song, even the first drop, serves to build up the tension towards the second drop, which is the real climax. Okay, we finally start to add even more layers. So now we have some staccato strings doing chords. Dun, 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 dun. So now we have some more ostinatos going on. And now the orchestra joins in for a few more chords. There it is. And all that's happening with the strings on top. And that's where the cinematic orchestral bed to the whole track is. And then on top of that, we have all the electronic sounds. So it's like a 50-50 blend. And we see the piano building up more and more. And going into a higher octave now. And that means we've reached the end of this phrase. Okay. Now some more elements to take into account are finally in the percussions in the percussion group we have the damage 2 here. So this is damage 2. I don't know if I have the preset still. Well, it's empty, but we can just add it again. So there it is. There it is. And that's actually our pattern here. So we can probably just recreate this, huh? If I just mute this. Oh, there it is. It's just that it has its own reverb, but if I take it off. So this has sidechain, but it's not sidechained in the actual song. So we take the sidechain away, you can just hear. So at the bottom we have the more low-end heavy drums, and then here we have the supporting higher pitched drums. And there it is. Okay, so now we have that, and then we had the turbo back in and the sidechain back in, and I basically bounced this and I boosted the high in a bunch. I debloated the low mids. And it sounds like that now. So it serves to build up some more tension. Have that final hit in there, and now we have mixed in some quant sound foley grains things. So we have my own foley mixed in with quant sounds. So you have more folies, all the grains. Okay. And we have some Apache effects here. It's just a downshifter, nothing fancy. And then we have another downshifter from Agent. And a noise uplifter from Agent as well. Very useful. And there it is. We have some more Astro samples. I did use a lot of Agent stuff in here. The granularized noises in there. And now here to a lesser extent. And some more Foley even. So I basically have 2 layers of my own Foley here. That's interesting. Interesting. So yeah, all of that combined. And the Foley extends to basically until the pre-drop itself. And this is basically just this Labs key hit. I just took that and I distorted it, and that's why it sounds like that. In fact, the whole thing sounds like this. There it is. Cool stuff. So yeah, we have that final hit for the pre-drop to really come in, because otherwise it doesn't hit with the same impact. It's just like the melody ends kind of unceremoniously there, right? So with that impact, it's like really okay. This one is different. Therefore, something must happen after this. Okay, the drop. We have the drop coming. As you can see, it's exactly the same chord progression as we've had up until this point. It's just now it has drop style drums. It's like a little bit more intense, but it's still dun 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 dun. It's the exact same progression. But now we have a more continuous reese. We have this. We have a few automations here. This one, namely, and then it comes out. There it is. And then I distorted this. This is actually a separate sound, I believe. Yeah, this is Disto Lead. This is a preset that I made for Reconnect. This is a flex patch, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, it's not flex. It's well, but a part of the disto drone on Reconnect is from flex. That hence the confusion. But this disto drone patch has been made in Serum. It's basically just a saw wave that's filtered and then is being distorted. So it sounds like this. Yeah, it almost sounds like an electric guitar of sorts. And there's the destructor. It's basically at max. Alright. And this is the sound I used to make the main melody and Reconnect that. Now, it's that same sound is being used for the bass instead. So yeah, I repurposed that lead into a bass. And the rest is just free filter and automation. Same thing goes for these layers. As you can see, we have this. So yeah, these are just variations of the sound that we had before. Have some razors and some choirs. This is just a bespoke chord thing that I made. This sounds like Metropolis Arc 1. So yeah, this must be MA1. And I just faded it in. And we have also these strings. These are, I'm pretty sure these are Sinistrings Tremolo. Very quiet. Yeah, so I must have changed the preset to tremolo at some point to record this. And there it is. I just bounced it. I bounced most things to just save on RAM mostly. Because you gotta remember, I made this back when I had my old laptop. So that had 32 gigs. So now with this newer laptop, I have 64. So now I could have just made the song without bouncing anything. Probably. Like... but back then I was more limited. I was more RAM limited. So as you can see, I had to save up wherever necessary. And that meant bouncing a bunch of things. And in a way, it makes it more flexible because now you can just cut the sample wherever you want. So now the sample just cuts there, right? As opposed to having to make an automation to go with it to have it mute at that exact moment. So now you can just mute it when you need it. So you can chop things around and be a lot more flexible with resampling, which is what a lot of this is. And then we have the brass as well. There it is. And we have this. And with the choirs. And we have some more horn sounds. This is actually a octave rip sample from Codename Simon. So that's another codename track of mine. I just resampled this from another track of mine, so there it is. And I just took it there. And then what I did here, I just repitched it down in this case, and I also distorted to hell and beyond. For some reason, I didn't low pass this. Maybe I just wanted that boomy, like, low end nature. I guess I just liked it, and I just left it there. There it is. And this is actually an AU5 Sonar plug, I believe. I also distorted this to hell and beyond, and then I just bounced it. As you can see, that's the AU5 Sonar plug. I pitched it down an octave. I faded it in to get that nice distorted texture, and that's basically the whole of the drop. We have the occasional additional growl to help keep things fresh, because once again, this is the exact same progression we've had now for basically 2 minutes, so we gotta keep it fresh somehow. And then we have this D-pad. Hello. Hello? That's interesting. Oh, there it is. So it only appears at specific points. That's interesting. Maybe I just deemed the growls to have enough bass. But you're noticing a lot more things apart from the growls and the cinematics. So what's up with that? Well, this is all happening in the drums bus. So we have kicks. Obviously, just soft kick. This is J-Palm Kick 3. I believe this is from a Dreamscape pack. Rest in peace, Dreamscape. You will always be remembered. Okay. And then we have some rim shots. What is this from? So I sampled this from a bunch of things. So as you can see, this is the whole thing. So let me just solo this, and we can go over it. There's a lot of layers involved here, and they're all white. Oh my god, that's a blinding white. Jesus Christ. So we have this first snare layer. This is a rim shot style thing. And it has this like bounce back. I just got rid of that and just left that main snare hit. And now we have the bounce back, but on a different part. So see that? So we have two different like snare layers here. So we have this like pre-snare, and then we have the actual snare, so like dun. So we have like a double like wham here. Double whammy. Now we have some grains from Quan Sound. And then we have this. So we have the pre-snare grains, and we have the post-snare grains. So we have that so far. And now there's this. This is a more like more traditional style snare, right? And then we have some noise LFO things. Lots of Quan sound samples here. You can see. It's just a white noise LFO. So, but yeah, it was just nice that it was already in a sample, so I didn't have to recreate it myself. It just saved me time. And then I just liked the doomph of the snare. So I got rid of the main transient and I just kept the doof. And then there's a bit more crunch textures in here. See that? And then there's a serial pre-snare slam thing. Very, very brief. So in combination, all sounds like that. And I just bounced this and I turned it into a sample. And the sample is right here. It's just what you heard. But now I was able to split the sound into 3 parts: the pre-snare rim shot, the post-snare rim shot, and the snare itself. So we have the pre-grains, the post-grains, and the snare itself. I could mute the snare part and change it out for something else. So I could turn it from a snare into a rim shot, or back into a snare, or into a different rim shot. So we have 3 different snares here. We have this one. And then we have this other one. That one. So it's just a different kind of rim shot. This. And then on the second half, we actually have the snare there finally. There it is. So yeah, it's basically like 3 different types of snares from just 2 samples. This sample in particular is an assortment of metal crane sounds from Boom Library. There it is. Okay, so now we have the cymbals, obviously. Of the rides, the classic modus rides, never fails. And then we have this effect here. Aha! So that's the main thing that comes after the snare. Boom. That's the main thing that you hear here. So what's going on here? This is just 2 samples that are being repeated. The first of them is my clock tick loop from the new protocol series. This is what plays at the final 3 minutes soundtrack of any countdown soundtrack of recent times. So it's just a clock ticking. It's just a futuristic, nice sounding clock. It has a bit of detune. And then there's this, which is another construction kit from Boom Library. It sounds like this. There it is. So this is like sci-fi metal movements, like servo motors thing. And I just took one iteration of it and I repeated it a lot. And I essentially just made it sound like this. And like this. Save. We have this. And then all I needed to do after that is just a tape stop. So I made the stop time really long. So it took a long time to stop. As you can see. And I made sure to measure it so the tape stop stopped at the end, like right at the end of this beat here, so it didn't bleed into the next beat. So if I had made it any longer, the transients from this tape stop would have bled into the next beat, and I didn't want that, so yeah. And that's that, and we have the same Foley from the intro. Just this background, ambiance, and that's the whole drop. Got this to lead again. Now as a lead. So I'm being very careful not to write a lead melody here, because there's gonna be vocals after this, right? So I want you to focus on the vocals instead. So I needed this part to be very minimal, and especially the part after that, which has more elements even. But I had to make sure that nothing came out too much, because then it was going to conflict with the vocals. Bridge. Alien Weapon Zap from AU5. Ah, such a good zap. It's disgusting how good that zap is. So as you can see, there's no melody. It's just chords, harmonies, and just bass. It's the exact same, but now the Reese is stays on. Like the Reese is continuous, and like lingers on, so it doesn't pause. Stays on. And the same goes for the piano. Now we have some bass notes that are gonna stay and linger through. So whatever melodies we did here had to be extremely minimal, because we had an entire vocal melody. It's gonna be here. Piano reverb. So that's what Miss Lina is was going to sing, right? And let's fall. There it is. From this and let's fall. And I just had to make sure that there was a constant rhythm and flow going on. So we had a lot more hats, lots more rhythm now. And we have a lot more Foley. It's all more constant, right? And even more Foleys. This is all sampled. I'm pretty sure I sampled this out of that. So the thing that I just showed you, I basically bounced this and I pitched it up and down a bunch. And I bounced it again and I got this. Wow. I played around with the pitch and the formants. Yeah, there's a lot of pitch and format playing around here on both the growls and then the Foleys here. No melody again, because the melody is the vocals. And now we have another phrase. So now we do have a melody, but it's essentially the exact same as what the lyrics are singing. So if anything, this piano serves as a secondary layer, as a harmony layer, as a support for the vocals. And also notice how it's on a lower octave. If I needed this to be the actual lead, I would have done it on a higher octave, so it would stand out a lot more. Like that stands out so much more. But I don't want the piano to stand out. I want the vocals to stand out. And then later, once the vocals have ended, now we have the piano on that higher octave. So this is where the vocals sing. And got me from the darkest moon. And then she pauses here for a bit. And then finally the piano. So it's kind of like call and response between the vocals and the piano, right? So Lina sings here in this register. And now Lina pauses here for a second. And now the piano responds to that call by Lina. So yeah, you will see this a lot more clearly once we jump into the vocal project. It'll all start to make sense. So now we have this ostinato back in from the buildup. Now we have this other ostinato. This is going to appear later on in the track. You will see. So just hold on to that for now. And then once Lina comes back in, the piano goes back to the low register because we don't want the piano to interfere with Miss Lina. And this Cooldown. Basically same thing as the intro, only that now the piano is now on a lower octave. The only real difference with the intro is that, well, the piano is on a lower octave, so this compared to this. And then there's a few changes in the melody as well. And then here we have... But now we also have a new note here. Yeah, a G sharp. Which wasn't here. Here we had a B. Oh, we had an E, sorry. Now this G sharp makes it sound a little bit more tense. So I basically took this and I stretched it out a lot, and as you can see, you basically get this. All right. So this is just an extremely low note. I don't even know what note this is, but it's so far down that you basically only hear the harmonics, right? It basically just turns into an atonal mess. And now we have some more effects. This is some arcane sound effects also from Boom Library. This is Magic Arcane Forces. I think it's what the sample pack is called. Cosmic Strike is the sample. And it's all like reverbed out and very low pass. The original sample sounds like this. So it's like arcane spells and summons and like magic effects, right? I didn't need much of the high end, so I just cut it. All I needed is the movement there, and I reworked it out a bunch. And then I just had the Reese with a portamento down a very long glide. And there it is. I thought of adding something here, but I was like, you know what? Just a moment of silence. And then the song kicks back in. I thought that felt very solemn for whatever reason. And then we finally start to inch closer to the final climax of the song, what the entire song up until now, even the first drop, has been building up towards. So we have a moment of silence here, and the song kicks back in. We have a low rumble here. As you can see, I had the ad-libs written down already and the lyrics and the notes. So what even is going on here? We first, let's go through the layers. I have an incredibly deep pad, just doing the lowest frequencies. You have this bed of just bass. There's the destructor in there. And we have some automations here. More specifically, this is, I just automated the highest band of the EQ. Just had it go down. It's just fading in higher frequencies. And now there comes a certain point where the chords are so far into their building up process that the bass just kind of like stays there static. Because we don't really need any of this, because that high end is just going to conflict with everything else that's going on at that point, and it's not going to add anything new to the table. So might as well just cut it out. We don't mind that high end on the bass. Okay, so now we have some of the string staccatos. This is still not their rightful place, by the way. Like, this is still not where they're mainly in. So this is still just a tease. As you can see, they like fade out. Have a modulation X that just takes them away. Right? And they will come in like for real at a later point in the song. And then we have some reps, some more ostinatos. These are just chords. I don't think I still have the patterns for these, but it's just there it is. As you can see, they get a little louder. And we have some voices in here as well going na 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 na. So within this ostinato, we also have some of those voices embedded in this. I'm pretty sure this is Metropolis Arc 3 strings, because 3 is the one that has all the like repetition libraries. Those are great for ostinatos. So, if I may, just open up a contact here. Reps multi. And I just went like, okay, eighths. And you just play the chord that you want. So let's just go, insert one. And I just go, okay, I want this chord. And as you can see, you don't have to chop it up. You don't have to chop it up like this. You can just leave the chord playing and it'll just do the repetition. In whichever timing you want. You can do 16th, you can do triplet eighths, you can do eighths, quarter notes, half notes. Yeah. Pretty cool stuff. Okay. Time to delete that pattern we just made. And then the chords eventually just turned into an octave stack. Chords, and now it's just octaves. Na, 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 like unison octaves. And they'll actually open up. We have a high shelf that comes up, brightens them up. So it feels like they're opening up, right? And now there's this called orchestral chords. This is a library that's very useful in a specific, in very specific cases. It's called orchestral chords. And there's this thing called low chords. And it's just you play a bass note here. That's major, all right? And then you have minor. Well, first, you have major. You have first inversion major. And then you have minor. And then you have first inversion minor. Right? So yeah. So you can do pretty cool stuff with this. Like, for example, hold on. Like that. And then you can go like that. And this is just a cluster of the whole orchestra playing chords. And this sounds very realistic because it is actually the entire orchestra just playing, as opposed to me stacking libraries. This is just one library that has the recording of the entire orchestra. So you have all the nuances of the instruments already baked into the recording. So that's what makes it sound so realistic, because it is just an orchestra in there, as opposed to many libraries stacked on top of each other. So that's why I chose that route. It's very likely you've heard these in the NYP series. I just use these libraries all over my discography now. So yeah, I just recorded all the chords. I made the pattern and I just bounced it. Oh, so good. I enjoy this section so much. I'm so proud of this. And then we have some actually not bounced strings. Okay, not fully strings. There are strings in here, but they are fused with some flex, I believe. So if we go into unsorted here, we have some flex. This is the dystopian lead preset, which is basically the default preset that flex opens with. I just turned down the sustain and the decay to turn it from a lead into a pluck. And it just sounds very like warm and analog. That's how I did that ARP. Na 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 na. Sound familiar, this ARP? It is basically the ARP from Semper at Finem. Na, 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 na. And then if you go to Semper at Finem in here, I think it's Climax. Yeah. Na, 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 na. It's the same ARP. It's all connected. So yeah, it's all there. And staccato strings, which sound like this. So it's basically lower octave and then it goes up, but we keep the lower octave for more impact, right? But in reality, it is just going up, na, 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 na. But we still keep that low octave for impact's sake. And then we actually have some basses in there. Dong. And this is Cinematic Studio Strings on the Staccatissimo preset. I used this library because it has the entire string section sampled, so I didn't need to have like 4 separate libraries for violins, viola, cello, and bass. I just had the entire thing in one library. Nowadays, I would have probably done this with Cinestrings, but back then I didn't have Cinestrings, so that's why I went down this route. And then we have some more string chords. And these have voicings of their own. So let's go over that. These are very reverbed out, and these are actually Cinestrings. Okay, so I stand corrected. I did have Cinestrings. In that case, I'm not sure why I chose to use CSS as opposed to Cinestrings. Maybe it just sounded better to me at the time. I stand corrected. As you can see, my memory around that time is a little flaky. There was a lot going on. And the reverb is a mix of east-west spaces and reverb. It's very, very, very stereo. It's very wide. I didn't even care about the stereo imaging on this one. It's just make it sound good. Yes, this is Cinestrings for contact. And then we have voices of their own here on the string chord. So we have na 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 na. Right? Oh, here you go, the orchestral chords. And these are the reps, actually. Okay, so we do have the reps. So we can actually tap into what they sound like. This is basically this sample. Yeah, it's muted, but I just showed you this sample. This is the pattern. So you can see there's also voices in here, like embedded in there. As you can see, that's how we go from full range chords to just the higher strings, and then it just turns to unison octaves. And there it is. There you have it. Let's mute that again. We have the same melody that Lina sings here. Na, 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 prison for my soul. And then the strings go, they're at their highest, reach their highest point. Na, 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 na. And that's basically what happened there. Now we have some more distal leads. This melody is also going to be a tease for the climax, for the final drop. And then we have some tubular bells. No, no, no. So basically just the F sharp minor triad. And then we have some horns. This is Brass Ensemble Symphony Series from Native Instruments. And I'm automating the velocity here. I believe with an automation clip. There it is. This is it. And then finally we have some piano textures. They're actually auto panning around, so they're going from side to side. We have their automation clip here somewhere. There it is, piano soft panning. And there it is. And that's the whole thing. And as you can see, this sounds very, very washed out. There's no distinct melody here because, once again, the melody is the vocal. So I had to have a lot of foresight to like hold myself back. Like, okay, don't do a lead just yet. Like, hold off on it because Lina's gonna come back in later. And I guess to remind myself of that, I just did the markers here to hold myself back from like doing a lead melody because my brain was like, do a lead, do a lead, do a lead, do a lead. And then I just had to retract myself and go like, no, Miss Lina's gonna do that. Mimi's gonna do that. Okay, so now that we start heading into the second half of this passage, we start to see some more nasty layers like this bram. And then this lead that does a sick glide down. And I needed that to be super uber loud because this comes right after a phrase from Miss Lina, and this is a moment where she pauses, right? And so I just needed this lead to be like at the loudest, the loudest possible thing. I needed that to be audible. And then on the mixing project, I'm pretty sure I turned it up even more. This is basically for goosebumps. Yeah, this is basically the goosebumps effect. There's a point where this might be distorting a little bit. And then I finally added some impacts, some trailer impacts. I added some delay into them. And there it is. And we have some damage too. And then we also have this at the end. And we have the snares. And the strings doing that phrase up. And then we have some choirs. Solo choir, actually. This is a solo soprano. And that's what you hear in the pre-drop. And the same thing goes for the brass. So we have both a brass and a violin here. And there it is. And we have that solo string. It's basically a reinforcement layer. And then we also have a solo cello here. So this is loud, but once again, this is a supplement to Miss Lina's lyrics, which do the exact same melody. Prison for my soul. And we have the same zap. And finally, we arrive at the climax. So yeah, for this, I just went like, okay, go crazy, go stupid. How big can you make a drop? Largest drop of all time. Second only to a track that I'm working on right now. It's probably gonna come out next year. But yeah, we have a bunch of things. First off, we have the string staccato. Finally, this is the place they're supposed to be in, right? This is their main spot. And everywhere else they've appeared, they've done so as a tease. So it's kind of like to set it up. Set up, right? And the same thing goes in the first drop, at the end of the first drop. You see it very, very tiny in the background? And then it finally pays off at the climax. So it's like subconsciously setting you up and then paying it off. Not yet. Here. And now you finally hear them at their loudest. And that's the main melody here. That ostinato is the main element here. And the rest is just support and to make this wall of sound work and just sound very full. So we have this evil god Bram. I like to use this on every cinematic song ever. It's just a sick Bram. It works everywhere. You will have seen this in Neo Protocol a lot. And if you haven't seen this, that's because it was made to be like a background effect. So it was meant to be invisible. There's a difference here though, and that's that I did a bandpass here, I think. Not a bandpass, just like a... Okay, so it's just a peak bell. So see how I did a peak bell, and then I just automated the frequency of the peak bell to accentuate that area. And if you move this around, it will make that sound, that like whoa. So effectively, I could make a growl out of a Bram. And I could even automate the intensity to accentuate the effect even further. And there it is. And then we have this other Bram. This is a Bram. I think it's in Ultranova as well. Yeah, it's an Ultranova. And it just does whatever chord we're in, right? We have the piano doing bass hits, low register. We'll get into that, Cosmic Fluid. Just a minute. And then this is basically a reprise from Save Me From the Storm here from Miss Lina. Save me from the storm. Na, 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 na. And the piano just does that. So throughout the whole track, we have a game of call and response between Miss Lina and the piano. And they're playing around, calling and responding to each other. And then we have this monster Bram. Just as gnarly as you can make it. Doesn't even matter. Just make it bright. That was voice crack. Make it nasty. I don't even mind it sounding realistic or not. Just do it. Aggressive. That's not how a brass sounds in real life, but I don't care. And we have some more wet growls from A5. These are like very, very subtle, just in the background to add some more movement to these Brahms. You're seeing that in there. And now we get into what is probably the main feature of this drop. That insane response in there. Why do I say response? Because this response to this setup that we have here. So during the build-up, we had that lead, right? And then at the same time, we have Lina's vocals doing, "Won't you bring me low?" Right? So that's the setup, and that's the payoff. This is basically 4 layers. It's a brass, 2 strings, and then a choir. So the choir this is just Metropolis Arc 1. And I didn't even bother to boost the high end because we already had so much high end, and we already have this like massive, super bright Crash Huge from AU5. Yeah, Crash Huge. Obviously not a Motor Strike without AU5 Crash Huge. So there it is. This is just Metropolis Arc 1, or at least that's what it sounds like. Yeah. And yeah, I just did a 6th interval. Na 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 na. And then on top of that, na 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 na, right? And then we have the strings. This is called chamber because there's a high chance that this was pulled off of, I think, Metropolis Arc 4 or something like that, which has a chamber preset, which has a string lead chamber preset that's just less players. So it sounds a little bit more close. It sounds a little bit more intimate, right? So it's not as wide or as grand. You get a very close-up sound with that. All right, and then we have this other string lead, which this one is the full range orchestra with the whole thing that just sounds white. So we basically have the best of both worlds. We have that wide, washed out grand sound, and then we have a layer, a hint of this close up, more intimate sound. So we basically can combine the two. And then we have the brass. And then I have an additional layer of staccatos. Dun, 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 dun. With their string counterpart. Yeah, there it is. So this is Cinebrass, I believe. Cinebrass has a sick legato. I really enjoy how it deals with legato. It sounds very natural and just very cinematic. So you saw a lot of this in Nier Protocol 9, and this was like my testing grounds before I got to Nier Protocol 9. Because this song was finished before NYP9. And yeah, I just made it bright as fuck. Very distorted. There's an OTT here. It's off because the sample is bounced. So this is like post effects. So these are all, that OTT is baked in. So now it's off. But with those 4 layers, we have a super sick layer, a layered sound. And that bounce back with the dun 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 dun, and then the response from the piano, which itself is a reprise of Miss Lina's vocals. And another moment of silence. And here I added 2 extra bars. So in reality, the 16 bars of this drop should have ended here, right? So this is 4, 8, 12, 16. The thing is, that would have sounded too generic in a way, so I wanted to portray the feeling of just uneasiness and like instability, right? Like things are uncertain, right? And that's just what I added these 2 extra bars for. To have a slightly longer bridge into the next part of the drop. So we have 2 extra bars. Alright, so we have an opera singer here. I'm pretty sure this is Voices of Rapture. Or maybe not, or maybe it's just another library. Simple opera singer, yeah, that might be it. Normal legato. Let's see. There it is. And then I could just change with the words legato here. There it is. That sounds exactly like the legato in Save Me, so yeah, that's it. Simple opera singer, I stand corrected. Once again. That's the exact sample, there it is. So I just, I bounced it, I boosted the high end, and I reverbed it out a bunch, and you have that. And we have some more Arcane Forces sample packs at play here. So again, it sounds like arcane spells and like, well, because it sounds magical in a way, right? It makes this whole thing sound very arcane and magical. Like fantasy-like, right? And then we have some more arcane casts. That one's reversed. We have that, just the bass. This is a mixture of lots of things. I'm pretty sure this is my Vital Growls at the beginning, coupled with some MAU5 stuff in there. I don't even remember what this is from. But yeah, I just made this. I can't even begin to decipher what that is. But yeah, I must have mixed a lot of stuff to make that, and then I LFO'd it with a gross Pete. Yeah, there it is. And then I just had all these Foley, and then we had some more pads. This is a pad from the intro. It's the same pad from the intro, only that now it's been pitched down to C sharp. So at the beginning we had that, and now we had for that dominant motion. We have some glass grains. And same thing goes for this filler here. Have that. This is from Modern UI, from Boom Library as well. And then this. That's just a glass break that I think I spectral gated. Yeah. failed to load because I changed computers, so I reinstalled the plugin. There it is. That's the spectral gate. There it is. Yeah, that's a spectral gated glass sound. And then another one. This is from a debris pack. This is just glass debris being like rubbed along the floor or like wiped something. Yeah, there it is. I just made that. And then to complement that, I just did a zapper here. I had this. And that's how I made the glass zap filler thing. And we have this the sub drop here. This is from Ultranova. Is exactly what it sounds like. Sub drop. Okay. Basically, it keeps going, it keeps developing on that same motif from the second drop. But now we add some more things like the staccato horns. But now, look at this. That sounds an awful lot like what Miss Lina is singing, right? So I literally went over on World Builder on East West. So East West has this amazing thing that I don't think any other library has, like choir library that is. East West Hollywood Choirs has this thing called Word Builder. You can basically build your own chord, like choir phrases. This is how I was able to make Semper Ad Finem, because I had no choirs that like actually sung Semper Ad Finem, right? I had no library that could do that, except this. I could just write it like that. Well, I could write like a weird version. This like phonemes thing. It's called Votox. What it uses, it's like a weird way of writing down phonemes, so the program understands it. And there's like a legend here to help you with that. So this is how I wrote "Bring Me Back to Where I Belong," and if I play this. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. And when you combine this with the rest of the instrumental, it really feels like there's a choir in the background somewhere very far away. And when you couple this with Lina's vocals, it just sounds so wide and larger than life. So we have some more motifs here from the brass. And then if you want to change the note that East West is doing and keep it on the same syllable, it's very slow. It takes a very long time to finish the phrase and then keep going. Like the legato is very slow. And I needed a much faster legato here. So I just did it the old-fashioned way, and I just did a pitch automation here. And just did na na na, right? And I just did that, and in the context of the song, you don't hear it, so it's good. It just feels like a natural glide. Right? It doesn't matter how it sounds in isolation, but you have 0 euros to buy choir commission. You gotta do what you gotta do. And then we have a slightly different reprise of that piano. You have some of the growls from previously in the song. My heart is sore. And then for the end of this phrase, we have the bass going up 1 octave. And then to end, we have this snare, right? It's just snare 3 within with a pan that I extracted from an agent snare. So I'm pretty sure this is the snare that I used in Termination in Near Protocol 7, right? And then I just layered just the tail of it with snare 3. Yeah, I have that. And then I just, for the last snare, I changed it back into the rim shot from the first drop. It helps to bring it a sense of closure in a way. There's just a pause here. That's where Lina says is her final phrases. And then we just end with the same phrase. Very Solomon, once again. And that's it. That's the end. It ends with the same pre-drop that preceded the first drop, but now there's nothing after that. So yeah, calm after the storm. And that's it for the instrumental. Because now we're going to dive into the vocals. We're not going to spend too long on it. We just have to go over the processing of Miss Lina's vocals. We have arrived at the stem mix and vocal arrangement for this. Look at all those automations. Going crazy. So now we finally have Miss Lina's recordings, and this is finally time to find out if all the foresight, if all the work we've done to hold ourselves back from doing melodies has been worth it, because now is the time to see if Miss Lina's vocals fall in the right place and nothing from my instrumental interferes with her vocals, right? So let's find out. So we just have that same fade in, and I have to turn down the... Yeah, it's at 1.5 megahertz over sampling. Yes, you heard right, megahertz. So I basically turned this up all the way to maximum possible quality, like 32 times over sampling. And I do that just to ensure that the final master's as high quality as it can possibly be. But as you can see, that uses up a lot, that uses up a ton of CPU. And so I have to keep things contained because this is not offline rendering. We're rendering in real time. As you can see, it's the exact same thing we had. We have 32 times over sampling twice on two limiters, the actual maximizer and then the true peak limiter. Okay. Here it comes. So I had two introductory phrases here. I stand lonely in all this land, and then trying to remember who I am. And then these two, I had one panned left and then one panned right, and then the two voices in a way like come together. They converge into the center channel for the later phrases. Left. And then this one's gonna be on the right. As you can see, the violins are still audible, but they're not interfering with the vocals, which is what we wanted. We've made it work. So if there was an instrument here somewhere doing that lead melody, it would have probably caused problems with the vocals. It wouldn't be as audible or as prominent in the mix. So now the vocals have a whole range of the spectrum just for themselves. Those nice ad-libs. Okay, so let's take this phrase to talk about the vocal processing. It's very similar as the one in Mirage, but still worth going over.
Done waiting
As you can see, since Save Me is not it's not so energetic. It's like a lot more calm and sober and like slow paced. It requires a different strategy for the vocals. So you will see that there are no morph layers on this because we don't want any like sort of fancy detuned. That would give the song the wrong vibe, right? So to keep the right vibe, the very like solemn vibe on this, I chose not to do any like fancy effects like morphs, detunes, vocaling, any of that. And I just had your regular vocal phrases, top line, and then harmonies. These are bespoke. These are sung. These are not made. And if they're not made, I can just repitch them with the Stretch Pro in here. I'm done waiting, suspended. So I can just have an octave here. I'm done waiting, suspended. I'm done waiting, suspended. So if needed, I can create harmonies of my own with neutron, but at no point did I do any like fancy like artificial type vocal effects. I'm done waiting, suspended. I long for answer. And then I just have a reverb automation. I long for answer. All right, so how about the effects? We have the main vocal bus. It's here, I believe, yeah. I'm done waiting, suspended. Okay, so if I turn off all of these effects, I'm left with this. I'm done waiting, suspended. I long for answer. It sounds quieter, yeah, but assuming they would be at the same gain, this one, well, sounds raw, it sounds unprocessed, it sounds like, well, it's the straight recording from the microphone from a room. So we have to do some more touch-ups to make that work. Not least of which, we are starting with an EQ. So this is just a high pass to remove, like, say, the room rumble, any things that might get in the way here. Because Miss Lina's voice doesn't make it all the way down here. I'm done waiting, I brightened it a little bit. Suspended. I removed some pockets of resonances. I'm done like that. Waiting, suspended. And then I boosted the body a tiny bit, the 300s-ish. And then I have a de-esser here. I'm done waiting. And I think I explained this in a previous stream. I think it was in a feedback track, how there's a trick to actually shift the sibilances, like your own sibilances, to make them sound different, to make them sound smoother or like less harsh. And this is called the spectral tilt. In RxDS, if you pick the spectral algorithm for de-essing, and well, you adjust the cutoff frequency and the threshold, so you just de-ess like normal. As you can see, it's going down whenever it detects a sibilance, right, in that range. But it has this adjustment called spectral tilt. So the S's that do remain get a little bit shifted further up into the spectrum, so they sound brighter. So you get brighter sibilances than normal. So if I were to bypass this, I'm done waiting, suspended. As you can see now, the sibilance sits into the like 7Ks range a little bit. Suspended. 7Ks, yeah, exactly. And with the spectral tilt, I get to blur them out and spread them apart a little bit more and like further up into the top end. I'm done waiting, suspended. See that? See how now it bleeds into the 9 and 10Ks? And now it's a lot more spread out, so it's a lot smoother. I stand awaiting resurrection. So there it is. It's a very effective way to soften the sibilances, right? I soft clipped the vocals a tiny bit. Basically, 2 cut peaks were needed. There were some peaks here and there, maybe not here, but for example, here there's a couple peaks that just to have them controlled automatically. I just had a soft clipper, and that took care of a lot of that. And then I just have a twin tube to saturate. I love using twin tube on vocals. It warms them up a lot. So without it, sounds a little thinner, right? This makes him sound a little bit more prevalent on the low mids. So it has a little bit more body now, right?
I stand awaiting resurrection.
Now we have an airy cube once again to get rid of some more pockets of resonance. So it's very, very slight, only being brought down, not boosted up, because we boosted up before. And then we have a Pro C to compress. As you can see, it has a very gentle attack and release time. So it's a very long attack and release to not make the vocal sound super aggressive. So this is a very generous compressor. So it is compressing a fair amount. But as you can see, it takes a long time to actually activate and compress. Because if the attack and release times were lower, it would make the vocal sound more aggressive, and that's not what we want here, because this is not an aggressive song, right? And we have an OTT, a little bit. As you can see, no upwards and 34%, so it's just very little. Just brightens up the sound a little bit more. And then we have a Saturn to saturate a little bit more. It's on the gentle saturation preset, so it's very, very subtle. And then we have a Destructor. So once again, more saturation. I'm pretty sure this will come in. This will be more prevalent in the louder sections like this.
Save me from this endless fall.
That's when the saturation really kicks in.
Save me from this endless fall.
So let's go over all of these effects. All right. Go through. Oh shit, we have so much more. Okay, so I linked this track into another track, and then we have more stuff going on. So I have an SPL Iron. This is supposed to be a mastering compressor, but I just thought it sounded cool here, so why not?
Save me
So you can see it's doing
from this endless
the smallest changes, like less than 1 dB.
Save me from this endless fall.
I'm pretty sure once we get the harmonies in and all the rest of the vocals, it'll start to act a little more. Let's see.
And guard me from
There it is.
the darkest moon.
Now you can actually hear the Saturn and the Destructor starting to kick in the lower registers, like warming up the sound a little bit.
Guard me
Yeah, exciting those harmonics down there.
from the darkest moon.
And then we have a Soothe to tame the mid-highs a little bit.
And
And then we have an all-pass phase.
and guard me from
So these vocals are a little bit dispersed,
moon.
so that you get that like bubbly transient sound effect on that, right? And then we have another de-esser because yes,
Guard me from the darkest moon.
so I must have deemed it to still have some silences that were worth taking away. And then finally we have some delay and reverb to add a lot of context and like room to the sound. So without the delay and the reverb, it sounds like this.
And guard me from the darkest moon.
Very cool, but it's very dry.
And guard me from
Now this sounds like you're singing into the abyss, right? Then these ad-libs I just I filtered, I bandpassed basically. And I washed them out a lot. And at times I believe there's a crystallizer in here. We will see about that later. But yeah, that's basically the whole vocal chain with Miss Lina.
I'm done waiting, suspended.
And there's actually some panning here. When the notes go down, when her tone goes down, so during the glide down, I'm supporting the glide with a panning automation as well. So it goes from G sharp to F sharp, and then it just pans around. Not sure why I did that, but then again, trying to remember what 2022 me did is a tall enough order. Now we do have some ad-libs in the drop. So now we have so many elements here. Right? So the second phrase of the drop sounds like this. As you can see, we have no melody. Because the melody is this.
Save me from this endless fall.
And there you have it.
Save me from this endless fall.
There are some more effects at play here, I was gonna say.
Save me from this endless fall.
Lots of reverb washing out there, helping to fill that space.
Bring me back to where I belong.
As you can see, we were right in taking away lead elements from the instrumental, because that's the lead.
And guard me from the darkest moon.
And now we finally have the piano response.
Keep me away from eternal doom. Take me home, save me.
So there it is. It's like Lina, piano, call and response. Some more ad-libs. Take me home, take me home. And then we have the bridge. So we have this phrase that's going to stay constant.
Would you bring me low?
We have these harmonies here.
Guard me from the snow.
And look at this. This is like an echo of this phrase, right?
Guard me from the snow.
And we have this. It's basically Mimi doing that. But I bounced it, I bandpassed it, and then I destructed it, inserting a destructor to distort it. So, yeah. So I basically made a lead out of her voice. So I could have that phrase from her,
Guard
and then that bounce back.
from the snow.
So we have that polyphony there indeed.
Guard me.
It's almost like a canon in a way.
Guard
We have that first voice and then the second one that kicks in a little later. And then it keeps going.
Save me from the storm.
Okay, so look at this. What I did in the instrumental here. To accentuate that, whoa, I had an EQ specifically for that. I boosted this band. So it would be louder, that part. That's it. That's all this EQ does. That maybe deload some things here. So yeah, I just, it's just EQ. Finally have all these layers.
Listen for my soul.
Yeah.
Listen for my soul.
So we spite of all of these layers, we can still make out the vocals. And that was the #1 priority here. I just let the climax play through the whole first half. And now we have that effect of Mimi's vocals.
Save me from this endless fall.
Which now have a bit more chorus and detune.
Save me from this endless fall. Take me home.
And we have some straight up mangled harmonies in there.
Take me home. Take me.
So we have these harmonies
Save me from.
combining with the choir, which I actually exported as its own thing to mix it in. So I could like fine tune and really nail that mixing of the choir versus the vocals here. So we have the vocals on the choir.
Save me from this endless fall.
There it is. Now you have that super full sound.
Take me, bring me back to where I belong.
And then once again here.
Done waiting, my heart is sore.
And then when you combine it with the instrumental.
I'm done waiting, my heart is sore. It's not so clear anymore. Let me go. Let me go.
I just had a massive reverb going in. And then.
Go.
And that's what ends the song. And then I just had one final project here. So once I had the mix down and all the mastering done for it, I just had one final session, which is just final adjustment of volume. So I exported the whole top line, the whole harmonies, the whole ad-libs, and all that. And then I just made sure that especially the final drop had some volume balancing issues. So I just took that and I just tried to adjust each layer to like really nail it, right? And this is the final version that you see in stores. And that is about it. Congratulations! You've made it to the end of the Save Me Project Breakdown. It's out now in stores. Yippee! So this is where the video ends. For those of you watching the re-upload on YouTube, thank you so much for coming over to the Save Me Project Breakdown, and I hope you enjoy this song and the AB it comes with, so Mirage as well. Thank you so much, and I shall see you next time.